All right, we are live. Welcome everyone to the Ryan Nichols After Party, or Ryan from Utah, as you've self-described yourself. Self-described yourself. Can you say that? I guess you can. And of course, we have with us my very good friend and cohort in most of our atheistic crimes here in the Lower Mainland. The good old Randolph Richardson is with us, and a very good friend of mine, the old bloke from over the ocean, over in jolly old England, Mr. Rory is also with us.
Good morning. Good morning, Neil and Randolph.
Hello again, Rory.
It's evening here, pal. It's not morning yet.
Well, I know, I have to say that. And
Just as well.
Ryan from Utah. Very nice to make your acquaintance.
Yeah. Oh, I think. Are you frozen, Ryan? Oh no, you're there. Oh, what do we got? A floof going on there. We got a kitty. We got a kitty.
Oh. Cat alert! Cat alert!
Hi, kitty.
What show is complete without a cat? You know.
Yeah. He's propped up on the couch behind me, licking himself.
Great. Hey, if I could reach, I'd never leave the house. So
No, that's absolutely right. No good YouTube live stream is good without a cat. That's absolutely right.
Whoopsie daisy.
I'm starting to get more and more jealous of Canada as I start hearing from more Canadians.
Oh yeah,
jealous. Why?
Yeah.
Come join us.
Well, America sucks right now. I don't know if you've noticed.
Well, we've noticed.
We're hoping things will turn around.
So I live in a deep red state, and the first sane person that I've encountered while I've been here since like the last 3 years, my uncle who lives in Canada, he came down and he's like, "What the hell is going on?" And I was like, "I'm so glad to meet you for the first time in like 12 years. And I'm so glad to see that there's someone in my family who's not insane."
Kind of gives you hope, doesn't it?
It does.
Well,
it really does.
That whole Chaz Chop thing has got a little bit insane, don't you think?
The what thing?
The Chaz Chop thing in Seattle.
Oh,
I haven't followed up on that. Last I saw, they were building a garden. They're getting made fun of for that.
Oh, they've been thrown out now.
Oh, they have? That's done with. I didn't expect it to last.
I thought I shut that shit off. Okay, nobody else has been. Everyone's like, "Oh, send me a link," and then I send links, and nobody's jumping in. I don't get it.
Links to join the chat?
Yeah, well, to join here with us.
Oh, I see.
Because apparently, I pay for this. I pay to use StreamYard, so I can put my branding up there, as you can see. And also, if you pay for StreamYard now, you can have like the old Google Hangouts, where you can have up to 10 people now here.
Nice.
So yeah,
that's much
better.
I saw.
Yeah.
Randolph is putting up new blinds, Kristen. That's what he's doing.
Let's take the old ones down first. Don't want to miss the after party, though.
I should see if Dave wants to join us.
Critical Cripple?
No. He's doing his own show right now.
The different Dave.
Yes. Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Simply Secular, our friend here in the Lower Mainland.
Oh, the new Dave. Yes.
The new Dave. Shit. Hang on here. Nope.
I don't like this old brand. They're horrible to take out.
Well, can I say something to Ryan?
Yeah, of course.
Neil, it's okay. There was something you mentioned on the last stream, which I thought really sort of got to my heart. How you were in the Mormon church and became a pastor, and you just couldn't preach what wasn't in your heart because you just didn't believe it. And to me, that was such a wonderful thing to hear, because most people don't do that. Most people just follow through with whatever they're told to do. And I had an awful lot of respect when you said that, I have to say.
It's been hard. I've seen friends of mine that, I mean, they've had to have had similar struggles to what I've had. And they went ahead and they went on missions, and they went ahead and did the whole 2-year thing. And they didn't come out better people for it. I don't know. Like, it only makes sense to me that you try to be as honest as you can, including being honest with yourself. That only makes sense to me. And the way that people act otherwise, I have a hard time grappling with that mentally, understanding the motivation that someone has to purposefully be deceptive because they think that there's some better thing going on. I mean, that's the problem that I'm having right now with politics, is that I see someone in the political sphere who's completely antithetical to the morals and values that people claim to have. And yet they continue to support him despite him being antithetical to their own beliefs and values, because for whatever reason they believe that it's better in the long term, because they have some sort of overarching goal that they want accomplished. And so they're willing to suffer through his problems and just accept it and be like, well, that's what we have to deal with because it's the greater good or something.
I think they're more in love with the party than they are with him, but they're not going to say it publicly.
Well, sorry.
Being able to interact. Oh, go ahead, Rory.
I was just going to say, I don't think it's necessarily a matter of being purposefully deceptive, as you said, because I don't think many people, well, some people do, but most people don't. I think it's just more of a realization that, gosh, do I truly believe in what I'm actually saying and believe in? I don't think it's necessarily purposely deceptive. There's a difference there that matters.
Well, I'm listening to people like Jimmy Snow, who was a former Mormon, and he's been out of it longer than I have, so he's had an outside perspective for longer than I have. But one of the things that he pointed out that I'm beginning to recognize is that being a Mormon, you're taught to just suffer through it. Whatever inner doubts you're having, you always put on this face of everything's good, everything's happy, everything's fine. And no one else sees what's going on the inside. Well, and I think what that does is it creates that bubble of deception where everyone thinks that they're the only one feeling what they're feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably true of most religions. Don't you?
Well, most cults. Apparently.
Cults, let's say, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Another thing about the Mormon Church, and I know we were talking about sort of DNA earlier. I mean, I've never actually known anyone from the Mormon Church, but they were always very, very good at family history information.
Yeah, that's a big part of that. Yeah. They track genealogy.
They did, but even in the United Kingdom,
Where'd he go?
They had that kind of information, which
it's a staple of the Mormon Church, is being able to track your genealogy. I mean, I've been calling myself an atheist now for a little while, and I had my aunt, who's still a member of the church, contacting me just a couple weeks ago, saying, "Hey, your girlfriend, what's her birthday? Who's her parents? Your son, when was he born?" Because she's trying to track all of this family history and genealogy.
Did that start at the beginning of the Mormon Church, or was it just something that they did later?
It's something that came later,
right?
And I think it's linked intricately with their doctrine of baptisms for the dead.
Right.
Do you know about that? Yeah. So the whole purpose of them tracking this genealogy is so that they don't end up going over the same person multiple times. You know, oh, this person here says, "Oh, this is my great grandfather, baptize him." And so they do. And then someone else says, "Hey, this is my great great grandfather, baptize him." And it's a different person with the same name. But then they find out, no, it's the same guy. And so they ended up baptizing the same guy twice. So they're really trying to
He's super saved.
become more legitimate. Yeah.
No,
well,
I just found it really interesting when I was tracing, trying to trace my family history, and all this information came from the Mormon Church, far more than we had in the United Kingdom. But there we go.
My grandma has managed to trace back our genealogy back to the old Scottish Isles. She wrote a book series called A Bit of the Old Sod.
As opposed to the new Scottish Isles?
The new Scottish Isles? Well, I mean, like the castles and stuff, like when it was like the McDuffins. I don't know what the family names are. Yeah. But,
the McMuffins.
The McMuffins, yeah. So, but apparently there was a part of Scottish English history where I think the Irish, what was it? So Scotland is north of Ireland, right? Yeah. So different Scottish families had grouped together and had invaded Ireland. I think is what it was.
Yep.
Yeah. And there was a couple families that didn't do that. They didn't want to be a part of that invasion, and they actually got outlawed. They got like exiled from Scotland. And part of my family history comes from those families. And my grandma had managed to track all that down and find out who the immigrants were when they had come to America, what their names were that when they had immigrated here. Like, she'd managed to track down all this information. And so some of it is pretty impressive how legitimate it is. And other parts of it, I'm like, looking back on it now, okay, have you guys heard of Elizabeth Warren and her Pocahontas thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
I was told the same thing. I grew up believing the same thing, that I am the direct descendant of Chief Powhatan, Pocahontas's father. So he, as the chief of chiefs of all these different Native American tribes, he had a certain status in the community. And so the child of the chief was considered extra important. And so he was only allowed, not necessarily allowed, but he decided, I guess, to only sire one child per woman, so that the child of the chief could be taken care of full time by a woman instead of one woman taking care of, however many kids. So he ended up having, I think it was like 26 different kids, including Pocahontas, and she was one of his favorites. But he had another daughter named Nicea. I can't remember her name. I think it's Nissea. But supposedly she had immigrated back to the England with the Pilgrims, had married into one of the families there, and that I'm descended from her directly. And so that I am a direct descendant of a Native American princess. And so like now I'm starting to question that a little bit, because like this sounds like the same story that Elizabeth Warren was told. Hey, I'm a little bit Native American.
I raised my glass to you, sir. I raised my glass to you.
Yeah.
I raised my can.
I
raised my fireball margarita in your direction.
Oh, I've got a fireball in the freezer.
Woo! Fireball!
Fireball margarita with a Winnie the Pooh straw. How can you beat that, right?
Holy shit. You're like my new favorite human being, David.
And I got craft beer yesterday.
Nice.
Ryan, are you of partial Irish descent, or where's your lineage?
I'm drinking with Stimpy. Does that count?
Stimpy? Oh gosh. I consider myself just a European mutt. I have ancestry from Germany, from Sweden, from France, from Ireland, from Scotland. I think primarily from my father's side, I am German. I think from my father's side, I'm primarily German. And from my mother's side, I'm primarily Irish Welsh.
The peace pipe.
I'm with you, Thunderbird. I wish I had my peace pipe. I have a teeny tiny one, but that's about it.
We haven't done any testing or anything, but legend has it I'm the descendant of some people from Dublin with a little bit of Scottish blended in there somewhere, but not very diverse.
I have Welsh and English.
I'm quite white, as you can tell. I don't tan, I reflect.
I'm English, Scottish. I'm English, Scottish, and Viking, and my kids are also Chinese. So big combination.
Also Chinese.
Well, my wife's Chinese.
I'd really like to have a test done. So.
Hey, Zod.
Hey.
What's that place called? 21andMe?
23andMe.
23andMe is the genetic thing? Yeah, I'd like to get
Clearly,
that.
you can't be racist.
I don't think it'd be.
It's really inaccurate. They've done studies where they ran triplets and quadruplets through that, and they ran them.
They all came up different.
And
Yeah.
got different answers, right?
Yeah.
Well, we just tell our kids we just tell our kids that they're 100% of everything, and that works out quite well.
Yeah.
They have 100% of this gene, 100% of this gene, 100% of this gene.
Because some of them are more prominent. That's all.
Technically is common. Zod, if you got time, you'd like to join us, because apparently I can have up to 10 fucking people in these things now.
BBA?
Oh, we got to test that out, Neil. Get more people in here.
I know.
You got to get 9. 9 would look.
BBA has been having. I think the internet issue is on his end, because he says we're all roboting, and I haven't had any roboting issues with anyone. Well, Glass, I'll try it again. That's all I can do. If it's not working, I don't know what to tell you.
Ask him if he's tried turning it off and turning it back on again.
No,
he's tried that
never
bunch
works.
So Ryan, the church that I came from was the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints up here in Vancouver.
The RLDS.
Yeah, and they
reorganized
the Community of Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my sister still works for the church.
Interesting. Now they're the ones that still have property. They own that church in Nauvoo. Am I correct?
Sorry, in where?
Nauvoo, the Nauvoo Temple. Is that the RLDS that have that church?
I
thought that's where.
But honestly, I've been.
Amidala was from.
Church's way for a few years, so it's possible.
So there's as the Mormons were initially fleeing west towards Utah, they set up a couple different communities on the way there. One of them was in an area called Nauvoo. I can't remember what state it was in. My bad. But they built a temple there, and a lot of the modern revelations that the church follows happened while they were at that temple. And when they got driven out of the area, the temple was taken by other people, and they seized the property. The reorganized LDS church, I believe, are the ones that actually bought that temple back and rebuilt it as part of that effort to establish their authority over the mainstream LDS church. They were like, hey, we own this RLDS temple, or we own this Nauvoo temple, which is like a really important landmark in LDS history.
You know about the Book of Mormon being sold. I think it was last year or maybe late 2018 when the Book of Mormon was sold to the Mormon Church for $35 million. That was my church that sold it to them.
How
Oh,
much?
there was a specific Book of Mormon?
It was the actual original Book of Mormon that they had for
Really?
where the church separated.
$35 million.
35 million.
It was the highest price ever
Wow.
paid in US dollars for a manuscript of any
And
kind.
that's a drop in the bucket for the Mormon Church, by the way.
Really? Wow.
I
Penny.
wish I could say
Pennies
that.
to the Mormon Church. They are loaded. The Mormon Church is absolutely loaded.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
Hi, Jenny again.
Let's see here.
What?
Who we got here?
I think I was chatting with Jenny the last time I was on one of your deals.
Nauvoo Temple in Illinois. Thank you, Thunderbird.
In Illinois.
Yeah, Nauvoo in Illinois. Yeah.
Oh.
That's that state
Yeah,
that has
apparently-
Chicago there, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the temple where the angel Gabriel appeared directly to Joseph Smith and appeared directly to not Joseph Smith, was it? Anyway, some important people in the Mormon Church.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I actually studied the doctrine, so I probably have certain things wrong.
Well, our church actually, when they had one of the reasons they sold the Book of Mormon was
Whoa!
Hello.
Doctrine and
We
Covenants.
got her.
They actually cut 53 paragraph or 53.
We got her, I
chapters
think.
out of it and
Yep, we
started
got her. Glass
rewriting.
in the house.
Okay, all right. Someone's talking to
53
you.
chapters out of the original?
Yeah,
I'm getting echo.
Huh.
they're reorganizing it.
Look at this. 8 people in this
Wow,
room
this is a
already,
party.
right?
The echo gone?
And I'm
Randall.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, I'm still here. I'm listening. I'm interjecting from time to time. How are you, Irish?
I hit the wrong switch.
This is going to go all tits up.
So we got 8 people in here now. We got to bring this up to 10 somehow.
Well, I sent a link to Prophet Zod. Okay, I'm still getting echo,
How about Demon?
so he might join us.
Did you notice?
Oh, no, that's okay now.
System?
I thought StreamYard's had a limit of 6.
It did, but if you pay for it now, they allow 10.
Oh.
I don't know how they're going to do 10. I mean, we're all going to be like this big by the time if there's 10 people in here.
I need to go full screen.
Yeah, I may have to switch devices here. I can't see anybody. It's way too small
Oh.
for these eyes.
I'm only on an itty bitty 17-inch screen here.
Are you? What the? Look at the size of the screen behind you, and you're on a 17-inch screen.
My laptop.
Oh. Well, mine's
I'm on a
17.
37.
8 people.
I'm on my phone.
I'm on a 37-inch CRT.
Yes, you are.
There's CRT.
I have Neil in
Cathode
brilliant
ray
4K.
tubes for the
I've still got 2
color
CRTs,
display.
actually.
Wow.
I'll be right back.
I just don't have them hooked up to anything.
Neil, I have you
I don't
blown
have
up
any flat screen.
27 inches, beautiful 4K.
Well, I don't want to brag or anything, but 27 inches might be a little bit of an exaggeration.
No,
It's Canada. He means centimeters.
37.
Centimeters, yeah. Shh, Dave, shh.
That's still 10 inches. That's
Trust me,
still,
it's a 37
way
inch
above
CD.
average.
The biggest they made.
Oh, jeez. Hey, Ryan, if we can get back to the questions that I was trying to keep in the back of my head to ask you.
Yeah.
When I
All right, killed one while I was waiting for the thing to
I
start
don't
working.
know if I'm a normal
No problem.
convert, but I kind of faded out of the church over a long period of time. But from what you were saying, when you ran across the CES letter, that kind of seemed like a threshold moment for you. Was that?
Yeah.
That was the kicker.
Yeah, that was the thing that put the nail in the coffin, actually, that transitioned me from, if any church is true, the Mormon church is true, to the Mormon church is definitely not true. And I have no choice but to call myself an actual atheist because I don't have a fallback anymore. Because my position before was I'm kind of an atheist, but I also kind of believe in the Mormon Church. But the information that I learned from the CES letter blew that foundation out of the water.
Carpentry in the background.
Mine was more of a slide. I just kept asking questions and getting really terrible answers and went, oh, come on. Like, so many times I was sitting there in services going, oh, come on, this can't be true.
Hey, Dave, can you volume up a little bit? Because you're actually quite not as loud as the rest of us.
I was worried about not being loud enough.
Yeah, volume up.
Yeah, volume up.
You're a little quiet.
So Neil, are all these people here atheists?
Are all these people here atheists? I think a majority of us are. Rory is still sort of on the fence. So, but he likes us. He's not one of these religious people that goes, "Fuck those atheists! Throw them in a pit! Burn them!" He's not one of those.
Yeah, but you know I'm
She's
a devout
witch.
Catholic, right?
You're a devout Catholic? You are not a devout Catholic. You're about as Catholic as I am Japanese. Okay, so
I live with a devout Catholic.
The logic checks out.
So Neil, before I gotta go, I wondered if maybe I could bring up that subject.
Absolutely, sure.
So you can stop me if you think that this is a taboo conversation, but everywhere that I've tried to talk about it, I haven't found any significant substance on it. And the issue is about transgender activism.
Okay.
So up front, I want to say that I am fully in favor of trans rights and being protected from having to get fired and any political ramifications that involve being transgendered. Anyone who's transgendered should feel safe and comfortable. They should be respected. They should be loved. They shouldn't have to suffer any of those consequences. That should be basic. And I want to make sure I say that up front because for some reason, I come across as transphobic when I bring this up.
Really?
Yeah,
Jenny,
so I've tried bringing this up.
Jenny is a member. Jenny is a member of the trans community. So, do you think he's transphobic just by making those statements, Jenny?
Not so far, but he can dig deeper.
Okay. Well, so I think of being transgendered as being an objective fact. You either
first of all,
are transgendered or you're not.
Actually, nobody is transgender. We are transgender, but we are not transgendered.
What does that mean?
It's not something that happens to you. It's something that you are.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, so that a person either is transgender or they are not transgender. I can't wake up tomorrow and decide voluntarily to be transgender. I either am or I am not.
Right.
And whether or not I recognize that fact is an issue. Right.
Well, that would be correct. Although it is fair to say that people can go through a fair portion of their life and then discover that they are transgender.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so it may seem as though they suddenly become it.
Well, social conditioning.
It's something that you feel from inside. It's not something you really search for. It's something that comes on from inside.
And this is where my issue comes in. Because this sounds like the exact same reasoning that people on the ACA shows would argue when it comes to religion. When someone brings up a religious belief and says, I just feel it on the inside, they would say something like, are feelings a good measure of reality or truth? Can you rely on feelings?
There's an important difference, though, because
what else do we have?
People can become religious overnight. But to transition is a big process. It involves a lot of different things.
Not only that, but when people say, well, I have feelings, and they're referring to religious belief, okay, that's due to conditioning and indoctrination. When people in the trans community say, I've known that I've been trans since I've been 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever years old, that's because that's who they are. Okay, that's a different kind of feeling than, well, I just feel the spirit within me, or I feel God talking to me. Completely different.
As I've explained to people it's more not what you feel you are, it's what you know you're not.
Yes. Yeah, actually that's a much better way to put it. Yeah.
Okay, so when I'm talking about the feeling, I'm talking about the difference between subjective assessment and objective reality. So when someone feels something, when someone feels something, if you're talking about something that is essentially subjective, like I feel like I want to watch a specific show today versus I want to watch a specific different show on another day, that's subjective from day to day. The substance of it doesn't really matter. It is a subjective matter. So me having a feeling about it,
Theo makes a good point.
Is valid. But if I'm talking about something that is an objective reality, like being transgender, we're talking about something that reflects reality. Shouldn't there be something more than just feeling that supports that?
Well,
in the case,
something that supports that compared to reality.
Why should there be? I mean,
well,
what else do we have other than our feelings and our internal awareness of reality?
Can I just put a little point here? There's gender dysphoria, which I can understand is a very good reason to be that way. But on the other hand, you can't really have people who just one day decide that they're another sex. There's got to be some scientific or biological reason behind it, surely.
Well, they have been slowly uncovering human genetics deeper and deeper, and beginning to realize that there are things that seem to be different in a transgender person than the rest of the population. Nobody is ready to pronounce such things as absolutes, but the indicators are certainly there.
And this is a very good question. Ryan, how do you know you're a cis heterosexual guy? You feel that way, right? Because you just know that you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And I wanna continue this with that train of thought. That if the only consequences of that, if the consequences of my feeling and making a decision based on that feeling are mundane, then me having those feelings doesn't really matter. Like it.
Okay.
So when it comes to like sexual preference, right? If I like someone or if I like someone else, the difference or the consequences of me liking a certain sex versus another sex, it doesn't really matter. I could like guys or I could like girls, and there's no real difference. So the result is mundane. So me making the decision based off of feelings doesn't really matter.
But don't forget, there's more than just guys and girls too, right? There's people that identify as asexual, pansexual, you name it, right? There's all kinds of genders out there now. So
this is my problem that I keep running into, is that when I talk about, when I hear someone brings up like how many genders are there, that usually becomes a pretty heated topic. Because you have to distinguish between gender and sex.
Right.
So
biological sex is one thing, and then gender is a different thing. And I say, okay, I can accept that as being true, that there is a difference between your biological anatomy and then the socially constructed gender roles that describe certain traits or characteristics, depending on, that are stereotypically assigned to your anatomy. The problem that I have is when people then connect the two. I don't understand that if gender and sex are two different things, then why does someone who identify as transgender, why are they ever motivated to change their anatomy to match
the sex
feel.
of that
Right.
gender.
And there you
That
have
doesn't make
the
any sense to me.
And there you have the essence of gender dysphoria. Okay.
Well, gender dysphoria, as I understand it.
Consider an amputee who just lost a leg or an arm. They have this idea that their arm is still there. Many of them will feel
phantom limb syndrome.
Yeah, phantom limb.
Because they're beckoning out to be there, and this is where they're supposed to be, but they're not this way. Unfortunately, for amputees, they can't fully grow that back. But at least with
it's because God
transitioning
sucks.
to a different sex,
they give that ability to nukes, but not humans.
Yeah.
Well, because
right?
I completely accept the idea. I completely accept and support the idea of acting in opposition to social gender roles. I don't think that if my son grows up and he likes pink and he likes dolls and he likes high heels, no one should make fun of him for liking those things.
No, of course not.
But
well, just a sec. You know that high heels were originally invented for men, right?
I do.
Okay, but that's not. See, that's not
Yeah.
really getting at what it really is all about. Okay, a transgender person who exhibits gender dysphoria is going to seek to alter their physical anatomy so that it comes in line with what their brain imagines or believes, visualizes themselves to be.
Okay, so we're establishing a distinct link between gender role and sexual anatomy. Is what you're saying.
if you'd like to put it that way, I mean, there are people who will discuss that the biological sex is linked to gender identity because the genetics that create the biological sex are the same genetics that affect the brain, and so therefore they are linked because of something that we don't fully understand yet, but appears to be there. So when a person feels a certain way emotionally, they, to feel complete, need to have the full set. Need to have the pair, so to speak, and so choose their direction, their treatment that way. Other people do not feel the gender dysphoria portion, or if they do, it's not as strong, or whatever. There's variances of that.
I'm going to show you something.
Have surgery or something like that. For some people, they can't have surgery, so they don't. For medical reasons, or financial reasons, or safety reasons. For some people, they don't have it because they're just plain scared.
Jenny, I think there's plenty of a feeling of an ought, like I ought look like X or I ought look like Y because of social conditioning in gender.
I don't think she can hear you. See,
I know who's. I'm sorry, who's talking?
That was me, Irish.
Irish Sweet.
Oh, okay. I can't hear. Let me step out and step back in.
Sure. That happens sometimes when people come in on devices like a phone or a media pad. They can't hear everyone, so that's why we often get problems of people walking on each other. So let's see. All right. So say something now, Irish, and see if.
Okay. My question is whether this is like an ought situation, like I am experiencing dysphoria, so I ought look like or act or appear like I've been, I guess, socially conditioned to. Am I way off base?
I think maybe for some people.
Well, okay, so
because each one of us as a transgender person is unique. Okay, my experience is not the same as anyone else I know. I mean, I know what I felt the first times I realized that there's something going on. There's something different about me. It was based on anatomy. My first clue that there was something going on. For other people, their first clue was something that was completely gender role oriented. For me, it wasn't. It was biological. Does that mean that because it was biological, I'm going to want to have surgery? Well, no. In my case, that's the way it came out. But for others, not necessarily. But
okay.
I'm going to pop in here for a quick sec and show something that Kristen, best name ever, sent me. Said it was very helpful in sort of explaining the whole gender thing, we'll say. But it's quite interesting. So take a look at this and tell me what you think. See, sex assigned at birth, male, female, other, intersex, or gender expression, feminine, masculine, other, non-binary, equals, like, does this make some sense?
Well, it's yes is the short answer, in that it does describe things as we seem to perceive them or acknowledge them today. It doesn't. It's not an explanation, but it's a description.
Well, it is descriptive. That's kind of what I was meaning. That might help somebody understand. It might help somebody understand that a little better, I guess. Does that help?
So
yeah,
drawing
helps a lot.
Drawing a distinction that your sex assigned and your gender expression don't necessarily equal these different categories. You can be totally different in all of these different ways.
Yes,
So,
I would say in each one of those there's slop factor, if that's what you'd like to think of it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So okay, so the way that I see this is the way that I see gender, and I'm trying to relearn
that's what
this.
Plus minus means. It's more or less could be this, could be that sort of thing.
Yeah. So what I'm still trying to learn and understand with the gender thing is that my understanding of the word gender is that for a long time the word gender was used interchangeably with the word sex as far as sexual anatomy goes, and
Sure,
that
okay.
as the word sex became colloquially used to describe the act of sex, the word gender was used as a substitute for the word sex. They were synonymous. So like on your license renewal form, when it asks you what your gender is, they're asking you, what is your sex? Are you male or are you female sex? Which is different than asking, what gender are you? And so the word gender is used interchangeably. In the 70s, during the feminist movement, the feminist movement started using the word gender to identify the social gender roles specifically, apart from their sexual anatomy, and how the jokes like, first of all, what was she doing out of the kitchen? Like those type of jokes, gender roles, etc. And so the word gender started being able to use, it started being used a little bit differently. It wasn't used just in regards to sexual anatomy, but it was also used in regards to gender social roles. And now in the 2000s, gender is used differently again than it was before. When I think of the word gender,
not really.
And I can remember some pranksters answering often to the sex question on the forums.
It was used. Okay, I transitioned a long time ago. Okay, 40 years. In those days, we were not known as transgender. We were known as transsexual. The word transgender didn't come around to the 80s or so. But even back then, we were forced to take tests to describe ourselves and to basically classify ourselves on a scale of gender identity. Okay, Sandra Baim had a series of tests that were oriented in that way. You can still find them on the internet and take them if you're interested. And it asked classical, very stereotypic questions about what you did like to do, what you didn't like to do. Things from cooking to working on cars to whatever, to try to find your position on this spectrum, this scale between male and female gender roles, okay? As if there is some ideal on either end of the spectrum. And so everybody would take this kind of test and find out, oh, well, I'm over here on this side a little bit more than I'm over here. Today, gender is used, I think, in the same way, but not in the same pretext of a spectrum that has absolutes on either end, but that it has various features of stereotypic behavior, that people choose to involve themselves in by what they're feeling inside, that they then try to explain that they're binary or non-binary. For somebody who may see that they're trans femme or trans masked, that sort of thing. That those elements still exist, but they're just used differently today. I think what I'm trying to say is all.
Yeah, Jenny. I believe that there's definitely a sliding scale of gender.
Absolutely, there is.
I remember my daughter in primary school had a friend, a boy in inverted commas, you know, who clearly, from a gender perspective, was a girl, you know, and everyone could tell it was very, very obvious, you know. Just because of the way he reacted to things and the sports he liked to play or she liked to play. Yes, there are obvious instances in life that you've come across, you know, people and children who aren't quite the same. They're more like girls or more like boys.
But at the same time, you've got David Bowie, who could be anywhere in between on that sliding scale.
Well, that's true.
And he even said as much. You know, he was very much, don't try to peg me down to hetero or homo. Don't try to peg me down to...
He was way ahead of his time.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Absolutely. He was
one of my idols.
Awesome is what Bowie was. Like, there's hands down one of the fucking most genius and best musicians to ever live.
He and Freddie Mercury were way ahead of their time. And if you ever want to read a great story, the story about Bowie and Freddie Mercury sneaking Princess Di into a gay club is one of the greatest tales
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
You've ever told.
By the way, David Bowie and Freddie Mercury were not ahead of their times. They were just the public end of
fair enough.
A reality that existed. Okay?
Yeah,
kind of pioneering a little bit, though. You got
I came out long before
making it
David
socially
Bowie.
Acceptable. Okay, granted. I'm talking about they had the public eye and could make it socially acceptable.
Rory, I basically agree with what you said. Some of your language is a little bit outdated, but that's not important to me.
Well, that's
yes, there are people that have all these very typical gender roles. For myself, for example, because I can only really speak from my experience. I love cooking. I love sewing. I love kids. I'd love to have a baby, but I also build race cars. Okay.
Oh wow.
Now, where do you put me on?
That's an awesome part of you, right there.
Now,
how about
I
awesome?
want to interrupt here. I want to interrupt here with that because I don't think that there's any reason, no reason whatsoever, why a girl shouldn't ever, or why a girl should ever feel insecure about liking to work on race cars just because she's a girl. I think that there is.
I agree. And some of the best people
I think
know
that
in business are women.
Oh, it's just the same thing as like my 4-year-old, my 2-year-old. They watch Rainbow Rangers and Barbie cartoons. I don't care.
Okay. So what I'm talking about here, though, is that when we have social gender roles that are, integrated into society, and people grow up thinking, oh, if you have this anatomy, you're supposed to act this way. If you have this anatomy, you're supposed to act that way.
Damn it, Randolph.
What that ends up creating, to me, is it looks like artificial gender dysphoria. Is what I'm saying. That gender. I think that social gender roles and the way that people interact with society is creating an artificial gender dysphoria. If I were a boy and I had boy anatomy and I grew up liking all of the girl things, and society told me that those were all girl things, I would start to feel gender dysphoria because I feel differently than what society is telling me I should feel. but that is an artificial creation of gender dysphoria. And so what concerns me,
you're saying the rigid structure of society is causing
the rigid structure of society. If I'm a boy that likes pink and likes dolls and likes dressing up in dresses, I should be able to be a boy, have a penis, and like to do those things and not hate my body for it.
Well,
I shouldn't be motivated to change my body to match the sex of the gender role
that there are tons and tons and tons of people out there who live just that way.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm totally fine with that, and I encourage that. But what worries me is when you have people making decisions before they're old enough to really understand what they're doing.
Oh, okay. Now we're getting to the point, the meat of the matter.
Yeah,
okay,
this is what this leads to, because the thing that I have a problem with.
Hold on, let me answer. There are no children who are getting sex change surgery, if you want to use that crude term. Okay.
As far
nobody
as
nobody gets gender confirmation surgery below the age of 16. Period. Almost nobody.
There are 13-year-old girls getting double mastectomies.
Hold on.
Prove it.
That's not true. That's not
prove it to me.
Hold on.
Show me that.
Citation needed for that one.
Hang on. Hold on. Good. Faye just came in and she has something.
Oh, hi, Faye.
Hi.
Hi, Faye.
Hi.
Wonder Lady.
Sorry to just shoehorn myself in, but there's a couple of things that I'd like to say about the whole boy-girl thing, especially when it comes to, like, you know, cooking and sewing. Like, the best designers, fashion designers, have always been men. The best cooks have always been men. Basically, the listed things that you can do have been male throughout history. Or at least acknowledgement of proficiency has been given to more men than women. And women are just basically, you know, in history, supposed to shut up and sit down.
Fair enough. I was just going to say, is that based on our society being very much still patriarchal?
Like, you hear people saying, oh, well, you know, like pink used to be a boy color, red being a male color too, women's colors used to be blue, but that's also in Western society. You have other countries, other cultures out there historically and whatever, like if you have a boy, you're supposed to dress them up like a girl for the first like 10 years of their lives to give them strength. Like all the things that we're talking about are from our own perspective. It's not universal. It's not human. You know, it's not like this is a human condition of the idea or perception of gender or sex. And we just need
Look
to
at
like
Native Americans.
When I was yes.
Right?
Or the Polynesians.
Well, like when I was growing up,
the third gender.
When I was growing up, I thought, okay, in order to be a, you know, whole person, because no one was saying as a woman you need to do this, but a whole person, I would need to breed. Well, the last thing in the world that I want to do or ever would want to do is have children. But it took me until I was like an adult to realize I have a backbone. I can say I don't like children. I think they're scuzzy little mutants, and I don't have to raise anybody. I don't need that germ-spreading pestilence in my life and to pretend that I love it on top of it. Come on.
Hey.
Hello, darling.
I can attest to that.
Something I'd like to.
Fuck! I love it when you come into my streams.
Okay.
You guys just brought up several examples of like Native Americans and Polynesians and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Virtually every culture that we've been able to examine.
This one doesn't eat
throughout
much.
history has some sort of duality of gender.
More than that. Many cultures have multiple gender types.
Virtually everyone. And if you look at them, every one of them revolves around the gender roles. Okay, how do they know that those people are that way? Well, because the two-spirit person would do things that the squaw would normally do, not the brave. Right. Or the person in ancient Rome would do things that the woman would do that the man wouldn't. And the same with the Polynesian groups that you're talking about.
But it also would depend on the Roman.
We have always had in every culture we have some sort of gender duality, and the degree of it varies with every culture, and the specifics of it vary with every culture, but it is still there. It seems just the nature of human beings, because the
Probably all of
biology.
it.
See, I wouldn't
is
even
different.
call it. I wouldn't even call it duality. I would just call it being human.
Well, see, that's in our terms today, but in terms of the culture for over thousands of years, when we didn't have the understandings that we do today, there was only the duality of male and female. Okay, maybe they recognize it.
I think you misunderstood what I said.
All right, go ahead. Be more deliberate.
I'm just saying. I think it's all about just being human, no matter what like when I was in the chat, when I was talking about boxes, there are certain boxes that you have in your life, right?
Yeah,
and we
I
get to put our labels on them, and we fill them up, and some people fill them up, according to tradition, and some people are more individual and they fill up those little boxes and those
I think
little
we're
boxes.
basically saying the same thing.
But the thing is, it's like I have grown into the obnoxious witch that I am, I don't believe in witchcraft, but being told almost all my life that I am an unnatural woman because I don't want to basically have a tumor with teeth pop out of my vagina.
They don't have teeth when they come out. Jesus.
They grow teeth. It's
oh, you're talking about a baby. I thought you were talking about
nothing more disgusting than a newborn. I mean, how could
well, you wipe it off first.
It's gotta hormones.
They come out all
so
gray
much
and
that you can
alien-like.
look at that strange colored, wrinkly thing and go, "I love that, and I want to keep it alive." Ew, it's something to say about what goes on in the human body to think that fall out of you.
I don't.
One at a time, guys. I don't know if there's 10
I'm almost
people
out
in
of
here
time here. If I can interject.
I'm sorry, darling.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. So I just want to say that if you're talking about gender as far as sexual anatomy, trying to use that same word gender to describe the totality of the different variations you can have is totally inadequate. So the different variations of gender as expression, as we're talking about, if you're using gender as the same word as sexual anatomy, that word can't work. So the problem that I'm seeing is that we're using the same word to talk about two different things.
Well, and now you understand why today they say how many genders are there, and there's this huge number that people go, what? Okay.
Yeah, because if you're talking about sexual anatomy, the way I understand it, there's two genders and there's a third category for intersex. If you're talking about sexual anatomy, there are two genders, male, female, and then
that's
intersex.
Under discussion too. That's under discussion as well.
Intersex for anatomy?
Yeah, there are people who can present both. Yeah, there are people who can present either both male and female, or neither male and female characteristics.
Look how cute
So if you're talking
they
about
are.
sexual anatomy, there are two genders, and then a third category for intersex for people that display either both genders or not enough of either, and so they are neither gender. But then if you're talking about gender expression, that's where you get into the different 100 variations.
That's not exactly accurate. There are people in the sciences who are trying to create. I'm speaking for the science people, maybe inappropriately. They're trying to create a unified model that there is not just male, not just female, and intersex, but that it's all the same with variations.
Yeah, it's called human.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what I mean.
They've already
we're
shown
talking about
that.
the same thing.
I really think like when people are like blah 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 blah, and they make me confused. I want to treat people like human beings who are deserving of respect and empathy. Like if someone starts talking to me about like their business, like too much TMI. Like me talking about not wanting to have a hairy tumor with teeth. That's beside the point.
Hey! Even when they look like this, they're still cute.
No.
He was mad that we wouldn't let him run around the outside naked.
No, it's funny. I started babysitting this one particular person who's now an adult, and she was 12, and she's like, blah blah blah, and I said, just to warn you, you're a child, and therefore I don't like you. When you turn 18, we can be friends. And she's like, I was her favorite person after that. I was like, cute doesn't work on me. Yeah. I was like,
Awesome.
every kid I've told that is disgusting in Germany, I was like, go wash your hands. I was a nanny. This is how I found out I didn't like kids. I was like, go wash your hands. You're disgusting. And they thought I was the funniest thing in the world. I was the only one not going, oh, you're wonderful and beautiful and cute and you can rule the world. And I'm sitting there and they're like, no, you're filthy. Go wash yourself.
Can I ask you a question?
But
how many diapers have you changed in your life?
Too many.
Oh, really?
Really?
I'm still changing my own, so it's okay.
My friends know. My friends know I don't like kids, and they come. Oh, here, you can hold the baby, and then I've got this filthy, somewhat moist thing in my arms, drooling on me. That's looking at me with suspicion, and I'm suspicious of it because I'm wondering if it's going to latch onto my neck and drain my blood. And I'm like, why are you handing me this thing? It moves.
It's a leech.
You expect me to keep this alive? I just want to put it down and walk away.
Well, when they're 0 to 6 months old, you literally can. Because,
I
mean,
know.
they sleep like 90% of the time.
Knowing my luck, it would crawl and find me and kill me in my sleep. You know what I mean? Like some oozy.
With what? Its teeth that haven't sprouted yet?
With its germs.
Well, that's why they put them in a cage when they're really young.
Put them in a cage.
Germs.
What?
Just
it's
throw some
worse
feed in there.
It never fails. Little
Purina
ones
baby
like
chow.
me. Little ones like me because like they'll
like
be
me
looking
too.
around like it's like, oh, it's thirsty. Here, have water. Stop touching me. Next thing you know, I'm their favorite.
Infants water?
Huh?
You don't give infants water.
It was a toddler. I'm not always talking about kids. I don't.
Well, I
I don't
produce breast
necessarily
milk,
just
so.
hate babies. Just, I hate them all until they're 18.
Ryan, go and have 4th of July shit with your family, man. You don't have to hang around with us anymore.
Well, I really wanted to finish this point because
I'm sorry, darling.
I want to finish it with you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So
we're all going to finish at the same time.
Point that we're all human. They've already established that. They found out that the gonads that develop into the male sex organs start out completely identical to the gonads that develop into female sex organs.
Yep.
Yes, this has been known for a long time.
Ovaries, like they've already figured that out a long time ago. The difference between the two comes to the unzipping of the chromosomes.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So the way that the chromosomes are read as your body's developing is what determines whether you're male or female.
Makes you fall either side of the... Yeah.
Depending on how your chromosomes line up and how those chromosomes are read is going to determine on how you physically look on the outside.
Yep.
So
and
you
sometimes
have,
it happens correctly and sometimes not.
Sometimes it doesn't, yeah. So you have...
Well, do we want to say correctly or...
How about...
They fall where they fall.
Typically.
How about predictively?
How about...
That's a better word.
Okay, sure. We agree on that.
Typical way? Is typical an okay word to use?
Yeah, well, sure.
Predictively is better, I think.
Predictively?
But that's just me because I use the term. I'm biased against my own language.
Okay, so the way that the chromosomes line up that predictively end up in a female person, and then the way the chromosomes line up predictively in a way that ends up in a male person, sometimes sometimes that doesn't end up. Yeah, sometimes that doesn't end up to be the case. And sometimes, even if the chromosomes look correct, like you can observe the chromosomes and look at them and they seem like everything's fine, the unzipping of the chromosomes and the way that they're read still don't read correctly, and you end up someone that has certain androgynous features or syndromes that exhibit because their chromosomes didn't unzip correctly. That's when you get that syndrome that where women grow beards, right?
Menopause?
No, like actual full beards.
I didn't know that was the whole syndrome.
No, it's an actual thing. They're
back.
Yeah, I'm just joking. It's fine.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so my worry, right, is when you have someone, like let's say that you have a girl who has that syndrome where she grows a beard, and because of social pressure, she feels as though maybe I'm not a girl, maybe I'm actually a guy because I grow a beard. And so she ends up being motivated because of society pressure to do something like undergo a sex change.
No, because I can tell you this, like 90% of women have a mustache that they tweak.
Well, I mean, some little amount.
I tweak mine too.
Ryan,
a meal-sized beard.
No, it's not. That's not going to happen. Now, there may be a person who feels a certain amount of social pressure and will respond to it or think about it or mull it over or discuss it or get depressed about it or something like that. But that's not transgender, okay? Transgender is when the person looks in their pants and says, this ain't the shit I'm supposed to have.
Wrong plumbing.
Okay?
They're up until lately,
I should say gender dysphoric. I should expand that. Yeah. Gender dysphoric.
Up until lately, there's been another category where people have an extreme sexual desire to be the other sex, but they're not transgender. Like they think about it in a sexually positive manner of I would like to be the other sex, and some people have taken that way too far.
Irish, is that more of like role play cross-dressing sort of deal that you're talking about?
No, it's an actual like I want to rip my penis off and have a vagina, and I get turned off by the thought of that.
No, I've heard of this. There's a 4chan, everything goes on 4chan.
Everything bad, everything bad that comes in the world.
I've known about 4chan since its inception, Bill.
There's a fetish. There's a fetish on there somewhere called, I think it's called Exchange Pill, where it's a fetish idea.
Yeah.
It's a sexualized fantasy where if I could take a pill and become the other sex, like I'm a guy, I take a pill, I become a female for a day, and then have a sexual encounter with a guy.
Yeah,
I'm not gay.
This does not belong in this discussion. That's
a totally different thing.
This is an internet weirdness. Okay, this does not belong in this discussion at all.
That's
a different thing.
But I want to. Sorry, excuse me,
Ryan. The bridge that I need to go over with you that we keep getting interrupted and not to get to is you keep talking about the gonadal sexuality of a person, whether they have a penis, whether they have a vagina, and all that stuff. And that's certainly an important thing and part of someone's life. However, what a person perceives themselves seems to come from a phenomenon that happens in utero where the brain is washed over with hormones, male hormones, if they're to be a male. And it seems at this point that does not happen in some people. And it seems that those people that it does not happen in become transgender.
I understand that, and I completely accept that happens. The point that I'm trying to make is that I'm concerned about the people who misinterpret what they're feeling, because feelings aren't a good measure of reality.
Right.
Well,
right.
Jenny, I think you need to tell him the process of
the whole process that people go through to be treated for transgender.
Don't you just need like 6 months of gender dysphoria?
Hell no. Is a process of discovering that in a person.
Okay, then that's all I'm saying is that I want an encouragement.
Counseling do you have to go through?
The people that say I'm transgender, and if you can tell that person, how do you know? I don't need to know the answer to why a person is transgender. I don't need a person to verify to me why they're transgender and what they've experienced. I don't need them to prove to me. But I want to encourage them to prove it to themselves, because what scares me, and maybe this is just me being ignorant, what scares me is the idea of a 13-year-old girl getting a double mastectomy.
Yeah, that does not happen. That does not happen. Stop even thinking about that. It does not happen.
Yeah, well,
it just
Jenny,
does not happen.
No, but Jenny, with all due respect to you, and the conversation was leading on to this a little bit earlier, but puberty blockers exist, and they are given to children.
Yes.
I was going to mention that.
And they're given to adults too. By the way,
Well, I'm sure
they're cancer treatment drugs, and so we know exactly what they do on the human body, exactly why we give them to people, and they're an excellent thing to do with adolescents because it gives them the time to examine themselves, to understand themselves, to know whether or not they are transgender before the absolutely fatal occurrence of the wrong puberty happens in them. Okay, for a transgender person to have for me as a transgender woman to have gone through fucking puberty with fucking testosterone was the worst possible thing that could have ever happened to me. It destroyed my life, and I've been trying to fix that life for the last 50 years.
So how do you predetermine that without setting up some kind of self-fulfilling prophecy? Because if you give a kid a prepubescent child, if you give them puberty blockers to give them the time to discover what their gender is before puberty takes its toll, and then because puberty doesn't take its toll, they end up developing like I said, an artificially developed sense of gender.
Can I say something?
Because
doesn't that create a problem?
Let me just answer his question first. Because the process of the counseling that they're going through is to have that purpose. The puberty blockers is to give them time to have that counseling before the inevitable will occur.
I can agree with
when you take them off the puberty blockers, everything goes back to normal. Or
even if you wait several years.
Really?
Can I just say something really quick? I know for a fact that adolescents are very difficult to diagnose for things like mental health problems and blah, blah, blah. And doctors do avoid giving anyone any type of drugs during their puberty, blah, 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 even just for mental health issues. That doesn't mean that teenagers don't go on these medications. Doctors, though, who give medication, I think they're more qualified than we are to talk on the subject. And if they feel like puberty blocking, medications should be involved in somebody's case, they're the ones who are making the decision. It's not something that you could just go and do do-it-yourself thing. And we need to trust our medical professionals and our scientists when it comes to things like this.
Yes, we do.
Maybe they're getting some things wrong. Maybe they're getting a lot of things right. But the thing is, it's not up to like a panel of people who don't know how to treat these things.
Yeah,
I think he's kind of rounding around to also there is an element of medical irresponsibility when it comes to diagnosis with patients, no matter what the condition, and this is a very serious thing to make a misdiagnosis about.
Yeah,
but that's why parents and children and medical professionals are involved. I mean, I have a therapist who deals with trans children. We've had lots of conversations about these things because I'm curious and I don't want to get my information from somebody's opinion.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Real quick before.
One more thing on his side, without trying to jump on one side or the other of the fence, because I think we've been tap dancing down the gray line for quite a while here in the middle.
Sorry, I'm not trying to.
No. I totally.
No. These are important things to discuss, anyways.
Full of dynamics, but I think there is an element of people that are recognized now who are detransitioning, and a lot of people want to know why.
Because there are, and it happens particularly in the adolescent group because of the nature of adolescence. You don't find those same kind of numbers in the adult group. The percentage of people who detransitions as adults is below 1%.
Is it? I don't know the stats. I don't know the numbers.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. For adolescents, it seems to be about, I think, 60 or 70% or something like that detransition, or choose to go off of puberty blockers, or choose to never start puberty blockers. Okay, and it's because of the processes that they go through. There are very few things that patients go through in the medical establishment that are as tightly as controlled as this. This is taken so deeply seriously by the profession. You would not believe it. They are everybody who's in the treatment business has to answer to an international organization called WPATH that sets the standards for care for this. This is not just willy-nilly some physician who's deciding to do this or that. Everybody's required to follow all kinds of different criteria.
Well, it's a very serious, life-changing decision.
Yes,
too.
it is, and everybody knows it and treats it that way.
Okay, so I may be guilty of being victim of I don't know. Like I said, I live in a deep red state. Most of the information I get gets filtered through a conservative lens. The article that I saw that talked about 13-year-old girls getting double vasectomies came from a source that I do not trust, because I'm pretty sure they're a propaganda site. So it's likely they could have made that thing up. But what it sounds like, I haven't heard anything here that I disagree with. It sounds like we all agree that gender identity and gender diagnosing should be something that is taken very seriously, that is vetted as thoroughly as it can before consequential action is taken. And I'm happy to hear that that's the opinion, because what I was worried about was a counter point of evangelical activism, basically, that people want to be on the right side of an issue. Like, we all want trans rights to succeed. We want that to be a thing. And so we suspend skepticism in order to protect an agenda. And that's what I was worried about, that we're abandoning or that we're neglecting data, that we're neglecting science, that we're neglecting experts, and we're neglecting objective reality in order to support an agenda that we want to succeed. And that's what I was concerned about. And
you have to be very careful. And this is a lot like the BLM movement, where they highlighted the 3 black nationalists out of all of BLM. They make 3 people look like the 5 million in the movement. Yeah. And so you have to be very careful that you're not making a monolith out of some really wacko people.
Let's put it this way. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be right. It's okay to be curious. It's okay to have discussions and not know where you are on the spectrum. But what's not okay is avoiding it.
What is going on right now is the most, as a transgender person, that what's going on that is the most dangerous thing that can possibly be going on is the states that are trying to pass laws that disallow any physician to treat any child on any level for transgender. That is going to cause children to kill themselves. The suicide rate of transgender adolescents is like 50-some%.
Yeah,
it is horrible. And when they go into treatment and when they get puberty blockers, that plummets down to below the standard cisnormative numbers.
And this meme that I'm trying to share here shows a problem with the attitude that's used to try to perpetuate scare tactics against all this stuff. Can you put it up, Neil? Yeah. There's this kind of attitude going on. This horrible people that are kind of they're discriminating against people and saying, yeah, we don't want you in the bathroom because you're the wrong sex and all this kind of stuff. And it's just, this is kind of what some of those evangelical lawmaker types are using to rile people up and scare them and get them to vote for them so they can get their bigoted laws passed against people who are just trying to live honestly as who they feel they really are.
I don't know.
Not feel who they really are.
People. I never understood the bathroom argument because I've never met anyone that goes into the bathroom and wants to socialize. Let me bring that bathroom thing, because it always comes down to that sort of discussion. Any of these kinds of fear tactics that happen can be
narrow down, research, gone step back, and find the source of it. This is one of the glories of the internet. Yeah. They found the source of the bathroom bills. And you know what they finally said about it? Oh, we made all that up. Because we knew that if we would say those things, that it would get people excited, even though it's not true.
Now, this meme I'm sharing is where it needs to go. This is where it needs to. This is the attitude that's needed. So, Neil, put that up for me.
Hang on 1 second. Just hang on. Dave, check the private chat.
I think there should be more bathrooms.
Whatever, just wash your hands.
Yeah, that's the attitude.
That's the bottom line right there, especially right now.
And that's what we need to get to. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was done before COVID-19. This meme.
Sure, but
yeah.
Well, I gotta go.
And by the way, one last thing, the people who are being hurt most by the bathroom bills that have been passed happen to be cis normative women who don't look like a Hollywood movie star. Not transgender people.
I've seen that. There was a girl that actually got she got the cops called on her and thrown out of a bathroom at McDonald's because she didn't look like a girl. Yeah, that's
fucking brutal.
And that's by the way,
what that does to your psyche.
That's okay. Yeah. That's okay to have happen. So as long as one transgender person doesn't get through, according to the people who pass this shit.
But you see, here in BC, we have British Columbia, Canada. There are universities, there's government organizations, and other companies that have sex-neutral washrooms. Or I guess they even featured that on a TV show, Ally McBeal, a few years ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We should have extra washrooms
there are not problems
anyway.
Yeah, but there aren't really any problems.
That way, you don't ever have to share like a space with a small child.
Yeah.
But we haven't been having any problems with it here that I'm aware of. If there was, I'm sure it would be big news because the evangelicals would push it like crazy.
I used
what the hell is
bathrooms
this?
appropriate to myself for 35 years before these
that's
laws
my kids
showing up.
Trying to get her heart to melt.
Dude,
nothing more disturbing than trying to have a pee and having someone else's kid come underneath the stall and just stand there and stare at you while you're trying to have a pee, and you're like, get out. Meanwhile, mom's like, oh, I've got like 5 other kids with me, as the one got away. Put a leash on it.
Man,
either that or I need more bathrooms. Maybe like ones for children only. Just say, put a leash on it. I don't want to have to deal with your kids sliding underneath my stall, staring at me. It's happened to me 12 times in my life. Get that thing out of here.
And for
apparently, Matt Dillahunty pees through his pants. Apparently, he doesn't take it out in the junk in the bathroom.
Apparently, that picture of those 2 kids that was just up. I think there's something missing. Those 2 kids don't have video game controllers. They have all the right expression. They're just missing the game controllers.
They don't
They were definitely socially distanced. That's for sure.
That's good.
I can't tell you. All my life, I've gone into the men's room to go to the pee, and too many women were in line, and I was just like, no, I'm not going to get in that line. I'm going to pee myself before I even get into the bathroom. I'm going into the men's room. I've done that for a Broadway play in the middle of Phantom of the Opera. I don't care.
So, did you find
you gotta pee? You gotta pee. It doesn't matter. There's a stall. I'm going in.
Did you notice that most men can't aim?
Speak for yourself.
Have you seen the women's toilets?
Yeah, women's bathrooms are way worse.
Yeah, it's like half of us pee on the floor on purpose because we're afraid of the splash.
Yeah, they're like squatting over it, so they just like pee on the seat.
Wow.
It's called hovering.
I got very good at the hover. I got very, very good at the hover, but I didn't like take into account that my work boots were leaving prints on the toilet seat.
On the toilet seat.
And
they thought it was a man.
Hang on. Dave, this is you, right? The top one there? Sorry.
Yep.
Okay, good.
And some of us dribble when we stand up, okay?
Well,
everyone dribbles when they stand up.
There's that old adage, isn't there, above the men's urinal, which says, our aim is to keep this place clean. Your aim will help.
Yeah. Did you ever see those urinals where they draw they paint a little fly on the spot of the urinal to show guys where to aim so there's no splashback?
Oh yeah.
You pee at the specific spot on the urinal and it doesn't splash back at you. It hits the wall and goes down.
My favorite is the sign at the pool I used to work at, which is "Welcome to our ool." Notice there's no pee in it. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah. The one at my buddies was we don't swim in your toilet, so don't pee in our pool.
I have run into a couple of women's rooms that are pretty gross, but I don't
know why you want to swim in the toilet.
For the most part, the men's rooms are far, far worse than the women's
rooms.
rooms.
I would object to that, having rooms. Cleaned both.
Yep, me too. I mean, the men's room smells worse because there's something special about men's urine that
because we're smelly bastards. That's why.
Smelly bastards.
I'm a fat bastard.
Can I ask everyone here, because I've been accused before of being transphobic. So I wanted to ask if anyone here sounds like the stuff that I brought up today sounds like someone who's transphobic or objects to trans people. Is that how I sound? I do.
Yeah, when you're asking the questions or making the statements, and a lot of people in discussions can't have trouble when separating when a person's asking a question and making a statement. When in some of your questions / statements, when you're asking some of the things like the 13-year-old girl getting a double mastectomy and that sort of thing, yes, absolutely, that is transphobic because those are the specific lines that the transphobic community is using to attack the transgender community.
No, but isn't it a reasonable question?
When it's formed as a question and not the whole central focus of a discussion, yes.
If I can jump in for a sec, I think when you hear sensational media from one side or the other about a topic like this, it behooves you to dig into it and check the source, say, wow, this sounds really important for this issue, but it doesn't sound legitimate. Maybe I should dig a little deeper into it and dispel that myth, right?
That's my attempt here, is I'm trying to evolve on this issue because I do believe in trans rights. And I do believe that trans people are people that should be treated like normal people.
It's human rights above all. Human rights, period. And I understand that some groups are marginalized and need to be focused on so that they are brought up to the level of the rest of us.
Mm-hmm. And what I'm hearing here is the underlying theme with you is that you want to be correct in this.
Educated on it.
And
that counts for so much.
Okay. I just have a question, though. What's the concern about the mastectomy thing? Because some people, when they hit puberty, they don't get boobies, and they stay flat. They don't. But the thing is, it's like, what's the big deal? If you're flat, you're flat, whether it's a mastectomy or not. It doesn't make you less of a person.
It doesn't. But people going through puberty naturally, it is a normal thing when you're going through puberty to fear your body or to dislike your body. And the information that I was being fed made it sound.
I never disliked myself.
It's normal to be confused about what your body looks like and how it's changing.
Ryan, have you ever stood in the mirror and said, I would like to get rid of this penis and have a vagina?
Me? No.
Okay. Who does that? Who does that?
I've looked up home amputation kits because I wanted to take off my foot.
Exactly. You know, the only people I've ever met who say that,
and I'm afraid that that's part of my the shaping of my view on this is because I don't have any direct contact with.
Okay, well, you do now, and
that's why I said make it Twitter. I can introduce you to an entire community.
The only people who ask that question are transgender people. Transgender people, in fact, stand and say, "I don't know if I'm transgender. I don't think I'm transgender. I don't want to be transgender." But they are, and they keep asking themselves that question over and over and over again. And then I ask them, do you think non-transgender people ever ask themselves this question? And the answer is no, they don't.
No.
Okay, non-transgender people may have a fleeting moment of going, gee, I wonder what it would be like to be a girl, or I wonder what it would be like to be a boy. But they don't focus on it and ask themselves that question for 10, 15, 20 years.
I've often said,
for the last
I'd love to be the opposite sex for one day. Of course, I'd probably never leave the house. But
for the last 20 years, I have wanted to amputate my right leg, so, you know.
Well, that's a kink too. There are people who are
It's
into
not
that.
a kink. I have looked up home amputation kits, and I can't get one.
I wonder why, Faye.
And when I told them to not sew back on the toe, just put it in a jar and let me bring it home, they wouldn't do it. They sewed it back on, and I want it off.
They do have those things. It's called a Sawzall and a bottle of bourbon.
In private chat, I'm linking what Ryan is referring to in the 13-year-olds. It's a JAMA article.
I got a chainsaw here if you want to use it.
So if you want to look at it and dissect it.
Yeah, so I want to evolve.
Some alcohol on the chainsaw.
I want to evolve on this issue.
She's using a rational approach. She wants to do it in a sterile environment. It's totally understandable.
And I'm not joking either. I mean, like, if you want me to take a suggestion and try a chainsaw, I mean, really?
No
honestly,
chainsaws. You need something
or do you want me to use a hammer and a shovel?
Laser.
Because I've thought of that too.
You'll cauterize it at the same time.
Nah. All I know is it's not working out for me attached to my body. And my sister said that if it comes off, it goes in a beautiful jar on her table.
This sounds like a Clive Barker story called Body Politic.
No, I am serious. I want the leg off.
I can charge this thing here up to its full capacity and touch it on there and blow it off of there.
Dude,
but is that sterile?
That doesn't look sterile.
That's
I'm pretty sure the plasma arc would at 30,000 degrees.
Is that a solenoid?
No, it's a capacitor.
Okay. Well, whatever. A capacitor is essentially a solenoid is essentially like a capacitor, but for a vehicle.
Would I live through it?
No, you're thinking of a condenser.
That's questionable.
No, I'm thinking of a what do you call it? Fuck. The Fords have them right attached to the side of the fucking. What do you call it? That attaches to the ignition. Oh, never mind. Anyway.
That's the condenser, a little canister.
But would I live through it?
Yeah, if Jenny was here, she'd probably know that right off the top of her tongue.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Jenny. She may have hang on. Never mind. See, this is the part about this that kind of bugs me is I can't see when people come back if they're below the line of everybody else, right? So
a capacitor and a condenser are the same thing, and a capacitor and a solenoid are nothing like each other.
That's true.
Solenoid, okay, well, whatever. Then I was thinking of one or the other there.
A solenoid can give you a message, but a capacitor can kill you.
Yeah.
Hey, Glass Monster, is that a 1.21 gigawatt capacitor there?
This one? No, that's a flux capacitor.
Right. It's a gigawatt, I think.
No, this is pulse-rated induction furnace filter.
Is it GIF or GIF? Like, who cares, man? When you say either, people know what you're talking about.
It's GIF.
I'm building an induction furnace.
I'll be wrong again. I've been wrong before.
Is that rated in farads?
Nope. 120 microfarads. That's all it is.
All right.
Okay, microfarads.
Neil, I'm gonna make a Twitter, and I'll send it to you. And
how many volts is that one?
You're gonna. Sorry, okay. Ryan. You said you're gonna make a Twitter.
1200 search.
Yeah. So Neil, I'll make a Twitter, and I'll send it to you, and you can share it out. And if anyone wants to add me on Twitter, that's fine. If anyone
I will right away. No problem.
Try to send me a message on Facebook. I don't know if my profile's private. If you want to drop a comment on one of my YouTube videos, I'll take a look at those in the next couple of days. But I do want to evolve on this issue. I became an atheist because
you're open, and that's good.
Yeah, I became an atheist because I learned about skepticism. I want to be convinced of true things, and I want to believe things for the right reasons.
Very good.
And that means that I'm open to new information and having my mind changed, and I want to be on the right side of issues for the right reasons. And if
you're what's called
explore,
your attitude is what's called doxastically open.
Yeah. So if that means I need to explore a topic that some people don't like talking about, or if people want to write me off because I want to talk about it, I can't help that.
Guys.
Well, I have one suggestion. John Oliver did a really good episode about it, which might be a good starter. Take a look at that, and that might help you with the legal end of everything.
Yeah, that's actually.
I love John Oliver.
I mean, like
a very good source.
He's not trans, but he has a wonderfully researched point of view. And I think you should. I think you should.
I have a lot of respect for John Oliver.
Yeah, look up his perspective on trans and trans rights, and see.
I don't know how I missed that episode.
And in addition to that, take a look at Godless Granny's channel. She's got some really good videos about transgender.
And Katie Montgomery.
I was going to say.
Oh, yeah. That's another one.
Yeah.
The Godless Granny, I highly recommend.
Ryan, I put my Twitter account in the chat. Get a hold
don't
of me
worry.
I
will get everyone connected once Ryan's on.
Thank you.
All right, hang on. Look at that. 10 fucking people.
Wow.
Cheers.
As long as you
were able to do it,
I'm good.
We're able
Faye,
to
I'm so
do
glad
it.
you came on. I was
They could literally put 2 more in here and it would still be good.
Hey, wonder if it'll actually let you.
No, it says 10 maximum.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but maybe if somebody tries,
I got a bail, you can add somebody else.
No, they have 10 people. It's the new thing for people that pay for this. Can have 10 people.
Oh, wait for it. For a few dollars extra.
Well, IQ, you're just in time because I'm wrapping this up because I'm already 25 minutes late for where I'm supposed to be right now.
You mean I can't release the murder hornets? Oh, come on.
Murder hornets are fuck. There's all right. First of all, they found one nest in Washington, wiped it out. They found another one here in Vancouver Island and wiped it out. Murder hornets are gone. You're fine. It's good.
No, but I'm not saying I'd run from them. I'm saying I'd release them.
They're badly named. They don't. It's not like they won't bother you unless you give them a reason to. They're like any other wasp or hornet. They're not going to bug you.
You're missing the point at all. You're just totally missing it.
I have no idea.
She wants to release them.
I said I'd release them, not that I'm going to spread fear of them.
Release
I'm the hive.
hornets.
I'm the hive. Basically, I'm offering to spread my legs and have them fly out my cooch and ruin everything.
Zeke would say,
So-
release.
I want to see this.
I am the hive. This is like a ping pong show, okay, with murder hornets.
It's like Mitzi with that. What the fuck is her name? Mitzi. I saw her in Calgary.
They're slightly damp, okay? They come out slightly damp. It's smelling like a Gwyneth Paltrow candle.
They talk about bringing back.
Let's see how this looks with 10 people and a meme on the screen, Neil.
They talk about bringing back the mastodon. I don't want them to bring back the mastodon. I want them to bring.
Oh,
back
you've already
the
shared this one.
The 6 foot dragonfly that can pick up children and take them away.
It's bad enough we have shoe bills. I don't need anything brought back. Shoe bills are scary enough.
Wow, 10 people look so tiny.
That hornet that he's holding in his hand,
they could put us columns of 5 each.
Is deceased. By the way, it's not alive. That's why he's holding it.
No, that one's named Harvey. He's sitting on my lap right now.
Steve Harvey.
No, his name is. I didn't say Steve Harvey. Come on,
Harvey.
words in my mouth. I'll give you a budget.
I didn't put words in your mouth.
That
That's
looks
what I
a lot
thought
like
you said.
Jimmy Stewart.
No, his name is Harvey. He's sitting on my knee right now.
I thought Harvey was a rabbit.
No, he's a murder hornet.
Harvey the murder hornet. You heard it here
but if you
first,
have to go, you have to go. I'll release murder hornets in another one if you want.
Yeah, Neil, thanks for having me. I'm going to go too.
Yeah, no problem. I got to shut this thing down anyways. Because I'm already 20 odd minutes behind. So anyways, thank you, Ryan, for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And you get to know a few more of these folks here. And I'm going to get the hell out of here.
Nice to meet you, Ryan.
Nice to meet you, Ryan.
Thanks, everyone. I'll be glad to connect with you guys later.
Very good timing there, Neil.
Embrace the Oliver.
Yeah, I'm on a beer
look at that
too.
episode right now.
Rory,
Yeah,
nice
I'll look at
meeting
that
you.
Oliver
Awesome.
episode right now.
Thank you.
Oh fuck! There you go.
Good night.
Stop sending me this shit. Steve Harvey thinks that atheists should be burned. By the way, just so you know.
I despise that man.
Oh, I know. I don't like him. Yeah, he's almost as bad as Jordan Peterson.
He's a conservative, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
he can go fuck himself.
very religious too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
All
he was
right.
saying in an interview that if he talked to an atheist, he wouldn't know what to say, which is a
Well,
really
how about
bizarre.
hello? How you doing? What are you eating? How's your day been?
Which is why I
What do you
say
do for a living?
Which is why I say Jordan Peterson is worse. So
Well,
I don't care if he wants me dead. I think he's fucking hilarious.
As an atheist, we cook babies and raise them as food.
And some of us
no,
raise
baby
murder
farm.
hornets in our vagina.
Baby burger.
Fine.
Baby burgers. Only
I still want the
$9.95
6-foot.
no, Glass Monster, we don't do that.
McDonald's.
I still want the 6-foot dragonfly.
6-foot
I'd
dragon.
rather not. They're rather voracious. Can you imagine the larvae?
Yeah.
So a
All
little
right.
kid. No, go ahead. I was going
All
to
right. Yeah, well, I'm ending the stream, so no more fucking jokes.
It all started when I was a young boy.
I've got news
Faye-
for everybody. What? What?
By the way,
Glass
did
Monster,
I-
you need to know
Faye,
this
did
is
I-
where Neil gets the last word.
Faye, did I tell you when I had bottom surgery, I had him install a set of teeth?
I saw the movie you were featured in.
Oh, wow.
No, there is a movie.
That way you can
There
bite your
is a
shit
movie
off.
called Teeth. Anyway,
That way you
you'll
can bite
check
your
it
shit
out.
off.
Trauma.
No.
There's also
Well-
one called
No.
Chatterbox.
Oh yeah.
Where the
Every
That was
time you
a-
fart,
even
you get
worse.
called toothless.
Oh, God.
You guys aren't
Oh
on
my
the call,
goodness.
are you?
Neil needs
I
an
just
everybody
think-
mute button.
I just
I can mute
think
everyone if I
everybody's,
want.
idea of what feminine is kind of pisses me off.
Well, I think everybody probably has their own idea what feminine is.
I paint my race motors pink.
I hate pink. My sister's house is almost entirely pink.
Oh god.
There's a
I don't
male
mind
friend
pink.
I know. He's got a pulling tractor called Purdy in the pink.
Oh, that's different. Anyway, all right. I'm ending
It's only
this.
got 5,000 horsepower.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed our zany conversation tonight. And because of the whole COVID thing, remember, guys, to be safe, be well, and be kind. And like the late great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys
I
next
thought it
time.
was COVID-19. You're supposed to hug
Bye-bye.
everyone.